The Ethics Commission ruled no conflict of interest, allowing Dr. Paul Hubbard to keep his Board of Control position with the state retirement systems and the State Tenure Commission. All of this despite his job as Chief Lobbyist and Executive Secretary of the Alabama Education Association.
The legislature has compelled him to serve in these two capacities, knowing what his duties and status are as Executive Director of AEA, that under the law as it presently stands, he may serve in those capacities.
The Ethics Commission conceded that there were possible conflicts between all of the jobs that Hubbard holds, but decided that the legislators who created these jobs knew that Hubbard had direct ties to lobbying for teacher benefits. The Ethics Commission also conceded that there was legislation up for consideration now that would keep the AEA Executive Director from holding any of these state jobs. But their decision placed Hubbard directly under the scrutiny of the ethics law as long as he holds them. The Commission turned to its report on compliance with financial disclosure forms by all of the state and local officials. Executive Secretary Melvin Cooper says about 1,000 of the over 2,000 officials have not met the April 31st deadline for filing. The Ethics Commission decided to give those 1,000 state and local government officials another chance, extending until May 31st their deadline to file the disclosure forms before their names are sent to the Attorney General's office for appropriate action. Chris Grimshaw, WSFA TV News.
We found out that in those two fine sister states, the tax on gasoline was greater than it is in Alabama, yet the pump price, too, was greater. For the remainder of my administration, the one mission that I think, and I would give up the highway program, I would give up all the other programs if we could show 4 years from now that this state was on its way to having one of the highest literacy levels in America. Go back and read the law itself, and it'll go to standing committees.
I'm fixing to split myself.
Honestly, we can have, I think, a fine state government. I want to build in the eyes of the public the esteem of Alabama state employees. We are going to have to restructure state government, and the employee compensation total program right now, it has inequities in it, no question about it.
Governor Fob James says a pay raise for state employees is not in the works this year. This does not mean he isn't interested. According to James, he will introduce legislation next year to reorganize state government and, in particular, the state merit system. Even so, state employees do not seem happy with their present situation.
This week there have been several meetings between state employees and representatives of various labor unions. Do you think this is good for the state of Alabama?
No, I'm against labor unions for public employees. I don't like the idea of strikes by public employees, particularly policemen and firemen, and I hope we can find a better way to resolve what any differences should occur.
More of the conversation with Governor James tomorrow. Dennis Latham, WSFA TV News in the Governor's office.
Housing Authority workers' grievances haven't been settled, but they'll return to work Monday. The Housing Authority Board has agreed to let supervisors meet with employee representatives to try and work out a grievance procedure. The board fired some workers who went on strike 3 weeks ago, but will reinstate them if they go before the board and say they want their jobs back. Employees lawyer Charles Price.
I don't see it so much as a victory for either side. I think it was a matter that reasonable and sensible people could arrive at. I think if it has to be stated in terms of a victory, I guess it would be from the standpoint that a grievance procedure and many of the problems that exist, the board has stated forthrightly that they will deal with those with elected members of the Employees Association and make an attempt to resolve them.
Price says he believes in a week or two all complaints will be resolved or well on the way to being worked out. Lisa Nielsen, WSFA TV News reporting.
Who are set for tomorrow will simply go to Miller office.
Auburn's well-publicized superstar Harvey Glance led the way along with James Walker, but the Tigers finally knocked over Tennessee the only way you can, the way Tennessee has done all these years, by scoring in practically every event. 20 of Auburn's 24-man squad scored points. The winds of change were blowing on Saturday when Billy Blackburn's win in the decathlon and seconds in the broad jump by Harvey Glance, the 10,000-meter run by Tom Graves, and Rob Will's second in the shot put had Auburn leading. Tennessee had not trailed after the first day in 16 years. On Sunday, it was a matter of holding the lead, and things didn't begin so well for Auburn. The 440 relay team finished third behind Georgia and LSU. After running second to Mel Latney in the 100, Harvey Glance, sick most of the night and early morning before the final day, ran third to Alabama's James Mallard and Latney in the 200. Glance had won both races the previous 3 years. But all the while, another star, James Walker, had been running as if his very life depended on it. A driving victory in the 110 hurdles, his fourth straight victory in that event. A few minutes later, a big lift for Auburn's hopes when Theo Abston dashed home in front to take the 800-meter run. Joe Franklin shrugged off an injury for fourth, and Joe Tolles got sixth. Auburn suddenly had 15 big points in one event. Some good things were happening in the field events, too. Billy Blackburn had come back from the grueling decathlon the previous day to toss the javelin 217.2 for second place. Unsung Manny Toppins had gone 51.9 in the triple jump. He was assured of points in that event. In perhaps today's best performance, James Walker literally ran away from the field to take the 400-meter hurdles, shattering the meet record with a time of 48.48, the best in the world this year. The fierce determination showed in his face as he came down the straightaway, running only against himself now. Brian Barnes' fourth-place finish added 14 more points to the Auburn total. The lead, dwindling early in the day, was now growing larger with each event. Coach Mel Rosen, NCAA Coach of the Year, SEC Coach of the Year, but still no one but Tennessee had won the outdoor title since he had become head coach at Auburn. It was looking good as he carefully calculated the point totals through each event. The clincher came in the 5,000-meter event. Freshman Tom Graves, who had inspired his teammates the day before with a second in the 10,000 meters, ran to victory in the 5,000. Auburn was home free. Rosen, who will manage the United States team at the Pan Am Games this summer, accepted congratulations. Afterward, Harvey Glance and James Walker talked to the press about how they'd worked so many years for this day.
To me, this is even better than winning the NCAA championship because this is the meet that we really gear for.
Well, you know, after the Olympic Games, my biggest goal was to try to knock Tennessee off, you know, and I've been here the last 3 years, and we never did it. And I tell you, the big thing that I think that really led the way was the fact that Tom Graves, you know, put the damper on that thing that they usually get 1, 2, 3 on, and that was the 10,000 meters, you know. When he played second yesterday, I think that it was like an inspiration to the whole team, and it was like we knew they wouldn't come back in the 5,000 and double like they have in so many years.
Somewhere in the background, Tony Easley, another key man in the drive to the top, must have been proud, even though injuries kept him from scoring many points on this day. The SEC trophy was presented, and even the old coach was obliged to take that traditional victory lap. There was even time for a moment of silence to remember their fallen teammate, Norman Fritz, who died of a congenital heart problem the week before Auburn won its third straight indoor championship. Auburn's victory probably signals the end of Tennessee's monopoly of SEC track, and the way the talent is spread around now, it'll be anybody's game in the years to come.
This state senator from Alabama came down here and asked me one day, says, I want you to tell me something. So this man in Montgomery's told me this, and it's hard to believe. I don't know whether it's true or not. He said that the Lounsboro was settled by wealthy planters from South Carolina. I said, well, that's true. And then they had a falling out, and each one built his own church.
Is that true?
No. But that man was just pulling his leg. Methodist, Baptist, Presbyterian, Episcopal. And we have 4 ministers and 1 congregation.
Now, how did that come about?
Well, we have our own Sunday school, except the Presbyterians. They have no children, so they don't, and they very few. They have services, but they don't have Sunday schools. And the ministers, when we have our Sunday schools, then we go to the church. Now, the first Sunday is a Methodist church, and the second is Baptist, and the third and fifth are the Episcopal, and the fourth is the Presbyterian. Several years ago, we had a tornado to hit Lounsboro, and it struck the Presbyterian church, injured one of the columns, and just if you'd taken a giant knife and cut out the back of the church, it couldn't have been any smoother. It just laid it on the ground in the back. And the chairs and so forth on the pulpit were not hurt at all. They were still standing there. And so it took them several months to get it all fixed up. And in that time, the Presbyterians had their services at the different churches on the 4th Sunday. They just had, and one day there was a group of Montgomery people saw us out door open, and they came in, wanted to know if we were going to have services, and we said no, but we'd be glad for them to have Sunday school with us. And she said, well, they had been to early services at the Ascension. And I said, I'm going to tell you something that might interest you. At that time, though, the Presbyterians didn't have a regular Presbyterian minister. They had a chaplain from Maxwell, and he was a Methodist. I said, well, today, we're going to have a service here conducted by the Methodist chaplain for the Presbyterian Church. They said they'd never heard of such in their life. In the body of the church, it was originally just a plain white glass. And then later, they took that out and put this glass with this church symbols on. And the young people said the reason the old people did it, they didn't want to look out, and they wanted to fix it so they couldn't look out. They'd have to pay attention to the service. And then the rood screen was added later. The first church, I don't remember it, but my mother said the first Episcopal church was painted red, and it was known as the Red Church. But
was that this church?
Yes, that was this church. And so I don't know, it may have been they wasn't able to get the right paint or something. Anyway, it was red. I don't know how long it was. Methodist Protestant Church was built in 1830. And my grandfather, great-grandfather, was a member of that church. And he brought the dome from Cahaba on the capital, first capital of Alabama. He brought it up here with 6 yoke of oxen. And the roads were so bad it took them a month to get here. And so that really is a historical thing.
Now, when were you born? How long have you lived in this area?
90 years. I'm not
That's
joking.
amazing.
I'm not joking. I was 90 last March.
Meet Eugene Big Sweet Austin. He served 11 years in prison, and he's an admitted booster, shoplifter, and petty thief. And he has a story to tell about crime and jail. No, not his story. It's the story of his 16-year-old son, Andy, and another youth, Ronald Ray Anderson. The Austin story begins 2.5 years ago, on October 19th, 1976. Rudine Edwards of Phoenix City was murdered, beaten to death. Eventually, 2 youths were tried and convicted in a questionable trial in Phoenix City. The 2 young men, Andy Austin and Ronald Anderson. There is some irony to this beginning of the story because Andy Austin, according to some overpowering evidence, was in another state at the time the murder occurred in Phoenix City. Why was Austin in another state? To commit a crime, shoplift.
Let's be very frank. Why were you in Jackson?
Well, I was going on to Texas. I didn't really, tell anybody about it, but it was our intention, well, Andy knew, it was our intention to go to Texas. We didn't have all that much money. So I was going to do a little short change and flim-flamming, refunding in Jackson, just to be frank and honest. Which we did the morning of the 20th, the day of the 20th, rather. We got up that morning at Days Inn, which I got the receipt to show that we checked out after 7 o'clock, before 12. So then I stopped by in Jackson first to see this doctor. I'd been hit in the head with a piece of angle iron, and it kind of fractured my skull, and I had seizures at times. So, and he wrote me a prescription, which I have a copy of here, for phenobarbital. I take phenobarbital and Dilantin. I did. It's diminishing now, the condition. Then we proceeded to go from shopping center to shopping center. We went to Sears, one individually owned, locally owned place rather, called McRae's, Woolco's, J.C. Penney's, Zayre's.
Yeah, you're shoplifting, right?
Right, shoplifting and refunding. Right. No. I'd shoplift and he'd take it back in.
The judge of the original Austin-Anderson trials, Russell County Circuit Court Judge James Caldwell, was being investigated by several bodies, grand juries, and bar associations when he resigned from the bench. He was censured anyway.
I guess he would have been impeached, but he resigned 2 days before they had his hearing, and they censured him, which is most they could do, really. They just really chewed him out. I was there.
The first trial of Andy Austin is under investigation for several technical reasons.
And Eugene Big Sweet Austin never got to attend that first trial of his son. A murder warrant was issued for him, and he had to run for 2 years. When he was caught in Pensacola in 1978, the charges were forgotten about.
This Rudy and Edward's son, Bobby Smith, said that I shot at him from me and somebody else was following him in a car, and he run around some cars, and I shot at him and knocked his window out. Said I shot at him with a shotgun. Well, from the distance, I guess it was a football field from where I was supposed to shot at him at.
With birdshot.
Right. I've been back there and looked and walked it out since then. And his whole windshield was knocked out. And some of the shots were supposed to hit his the front of his windshield even. Well, birdshot wouldn't have done that. I've checked up, I've learned a little bit about guns, which I knew birdshot wouldn't have went that far and done that.
The evidence proving both Big Sweet Austin and his 16-year-old son were not in the state has been analyzed. But still, there was no action from the Attorney General's office.
They got one of those little machines, 361 miles to Jackson, Mississippi from Bradley Library in Columbus. State Troopers Intelligence Units also checked the charter airlines and the commercial airlines. It was impossible to make it that way. And one of them went down and drove back to see if he could have drove back and forth. And it's my understanding that was impossible or very unlikely. And the doctor that I went by to see, I was telling you about, he just so happened to be on Saturday that he would have to testify, so he had time. He flew up here and testified that Andy was, I introduced Andy, and he made a comment on the suede brush denim suit he had on. And he remembered that. Over the morning of the 19th, we got ready to go to Jackson, Mississippi. We went and stopped in the bank here, and he cashed a check, and I cashed a check, which we have statements in the checks. Then we went on to Jackson, Mississippi. And at 9 o'clock that night, we checked in the Days Inn Motel in Mississippi.
You have the receipts to prove that?
Yes, and they've been verified. All the receipts that he signed have been verified through the Auburn Crime Laboratory.
Ronald Anderson received a 125-year sentence, the stiffest levy ever issued in Russell County. His conviction was later overturned by the state Supreme Court, and he's scheduled for his third retrial May 28th.
Anderson, they let Anderson out on bond after 2 years on the evidence they had collected on Andy.
Where is Andy now?
Holman unit down there. And, he's in the lockup, as a matter of fact.
The trial is coming up the 28th. Is going to have a lot of bearing on his case.
Right. It could end it all.
I asked Big Swede, a man who was there for 11 years, how do you give a 16-year-old boy back 2 years of his life?
It beats me. He's taking a lot better than I would. He breathes a lot. He's doing okay, but he's in a damn torture chamber down there, and that's what it amounts to. Holman Prison, if you've been down there, I think, and it's just a virtual torture chamber. I don't care what anybody else says. I've seen it.
The FBI has entered the case, not by the actions of the local FBI office in Opelika, rather from the FBI office in Washington. There are overtones of organized crime being responsible for some of the past activities from which many of the questions today now arise. Let me just recap this. Tell me if I'm right. You have the evidence that has been verified by the state crime lab that you were in another state 360 miles away.
Right.
And yet the 16-year-old boy is in Holman Prison for murder.
Right.
And the police authorities haven't done anything, and just now the federal authorities are taking an interest in the case.
Yeah. I talked to the federal authorities a couple of weeks ago about this case. They're in Columbus doing an investigation on organized crime.
Yeah, they're here for a bigger reason, but this is part of it. Big Swede Austin, Andy Austin, Ronnie Anderson, Judge James Caldwell, Bobby Smith, and the situation that now exists in Russell County, Phoenix City in particular, are all in and of themselves profound questions that will have to be faced and answered soon. What are you going to say to Andy if he gets out?
Well, I've always said that. I'm saying we just had a bad break, and you know, when you get out, we're going to have to be careful. I know I've stayed in the penitentiary 11 years, so I know a lot about different cases. But to me, this case is the most, I guess, egregious would be the word to use, since the Scottsboro boys.
Clark Edwards for Alabama Illustrated.
Had you ever seen him before then?
No, sir.
Found him in the patch.
As I told you a while ago, Mr. Callan, and he stays right in here. He's been hit a time or two with a car, and you noticed him run when that motorcycle come along. I saw him one day when I was pretty sure that somebody had run over him with a motorcycle. Some of these boys just doing it on, you know, trying to. And about a couple of months ago, one night, somebody come in right by that sign and see where I tied that up with them string and cut the fence down, was going to get them out because they'd seen me feed them and walk all around them. And I know that old dog run them back up in that pasture and wouldn't let them get them. See, when he took after the cows, they was gone.
So he just kind of takes the job of protecting the cows?
If one of them gets out on this highway, which have had a calf at different times to get out on the side of the road, and he gets out there working hard as he can to try to get him back. Somebody come in and stole my gap that I had one Sunday, and the cows walked out. Highway patrol come along, and that dog was trying his best to work them back in this pasture.
Huh, how about that? How often does he do things like that? All the time?
Every time one gets out, he's right out there with him.
We call on all law-abiding people in Montgomery, both black and white, to join hands with the police and help us get some of the murderers, rapists, burglars, and other parasites off our streets, where Montgomery will be a safe place to live. We resent the implications by some representatives of the community, by certain small groups, that we as police officers are anything other than police officers. We feel real bad that some of our leaders, particularly one that I heard made a statement about the police officers being goons. I think this hurts this person as much as it hurts the police force itself, because she represents, or he or they or whoever is involved in all of this represents all the people. And this way they're taking one side and they're hurting themselves. They should be helping us.
The radiological technologists meet every year to keep up with advancements in their field. Most who attend the meetings work in hospitals where they take x-rays. The president of the society says one of the problems technologists have to face is patient concern over the safety of x-rays.
One of the aspects is the safety, of course. We want to make sure that the diagnostic capabilities are not lost as we make sure that the safety of the patient is ensured. There's an important balance that needs to be taken by the technologist, and that they get complete and accurate diagnostic information as well as providing for the safety of the patients.
Granger says the radiological technologists have to continue to improve their skills and learn to operate new equipment. Lisa Nielsen, WSFA TV News.
It's been nearly 3 years since the JS Tarwater Complex opened its doors to the mentally handicapped, and at the moment the facility has all 114 beds occupied. Today, Mental Health Commissioner Taylor Hardin toured the Tarwater Developmental Center, speaking highly of its staff and residents. Hardin also announced that the commission should receive enough money from the legislature to continue operating all its programs at their current level.
The amount we had received was certainly far less than we had asked for, that there was not as much as we had projected as needs, and I don't think it'll allow for any significant expansion or growth by any means. It's about $8.5 million more than we received last year in appropriated funds, and of course inflation runs a bit higher than that. But it was our feeling and the board's feeling and mine that if everybody's to operate on a very frugal and conservative type budget this year, if we're going to be on short rations, so to speak, that we will take our curtailments and our cutbacks along with everyone else.
Tar Water Director Robert Summerlin stressed the unique vocational approach the center provides for its residents. Tomorrow night, we'll take a look at how that concept is helping Tar Water residents. Paul Roth, WSFA TV News, Wetumpka.
Today, State School Superintendent Dr. Wayne Teague commended Governor James for having what he termed the compassion and courage to push for the passage of the Student Competency Testing Program. At the same time, Teague blasted AEA Executive Secretary Dr. Paul Hubbard for trying to take away the funding for the program.
The governor and I are asking for only $20 million out of a $1.2 billion budget so that we can provide this special assistance to our children. There's no way that can be considered an unreasonable request. It is regrettable that those opposing this program have seen fit to tie the issue into the controversy over teacher pay. The two issues have little or nothing to do with each other. No one would like to see our teachers fairly compensated more than the governor and I. The vast majority of our teachers and administrators are doing a good job. There are very few poor teachers and administrators in Alabama schools. I just don't understand why this program for our children has been singled out for attack by special interests. It is irresponsible and shameful to pit teachers against children as has been attempted.
Teague also said he regretted that isolated results from the now completed test were used to work against the overall plan. Teague says no more results will be released until all of the figures are in. He says the program's concept of item analysis will make a definite difference in teaching methods, and within several years, Teague says, great improvements will be seen. Chris Grimshaw, WSFA TV News.
I feel that I owe an obligation to the tenants of the Montgomery Housing Authority and the general public to make a statement concerning the events of yesterday.
Are you prepared to make any specific concessions?
We gave each employee this morning, as they have come to our office, a copy of the existing grievance procedure, and that will be used as a point of departure. They will review it, we will review it again, and of course the main thing is to get back to work and get everybody's shoulder to the wheel and get the wheel rolling, and then we'll be about our business of reviewing this grievance procedure.
Well, I really don't have to give much of a speech now. I think it's been given. As an oil man, I can tell you with certainty that there are large supplies of oil and gas here in this country and along our coastlines. But primarily because of the economic climate and governmental regulatory activities, exploration for and production of these supplies has become increasingly difficult and increasingly expensive. Our energy future is a very serious matter, and if we're to have any future at all, the government simply must get its act together. At present, however, it has no long-range, coherent energy plan. Instead, it reacts to whatever social or political concern is fashionable at the moment, translating that concern into proposals which become law, and then give birth to regulations which are as complex as Medusa's hairdo. And therefore, I say, let us have an end to confrontation and the reestablishment of a partnership between government and industry. Thank you very much.
Man, I love everybody now. We've had a great start. We're averaging something like 1,700 to 1,800 people per night. We had a great opening night of some 4,300, and we had 1,909 out here last night. It's great.
You see it keeping up through the season?
Sure hope so. We don't see any let up, and our front office, Jerry Waslick and Bobby Cox are doing a great job for us. All the news media is doing a great job for us. The city of Montgomery has come forth and is doing a good job for us. And I just want to really thank the citizens of Montgomery for backing us up and helping us keep the rebels in.
The Tarwater Developmental Center is taking a different approach to helping its mentally handicapped residents. It's basically a vocational skills program where the clients are taught a specific job. Under supervision, the residents are engaged in bundling dried flowers, cutting them, sanding the rough edges from pottery, and grouping automobile wire harnesses together. These may seem like easy jobs, but for these residents, it's a way to become more independent from their handicap. According to Director of Resident Services, Dr. Walt Jacobs, 114 clients living at the center receive an average $40 to $50 a week for their work. With the money, they are able to buy themselves items such as records and television sets, things to make their lives closer to that of society. The staff of Tarwater, many say, have worked miracles with these residents, since the average IQ is in the 20s, the average age in the mid-30s. Director Robert Summerlin.
We are what is known as a developmental center. And by developmental, we mean that we take the individuals that we feel like would have the greatest probability of benefiting from rather intensive training such that they could move back out into the community. And this is one of our goals, to move as many as we can back into the community.
Mental Health Commissioner Taylor Hardin says Alabamians are helping the program.
I know that all of the people that work here at the center would tell you that there's a tremendous public support and public spirit here. So the land itself is just some tangible evidence of the attitude of the people here in this central and eastern, southeastern Alabama area. But they have certainly been supportive in every way of the efforts here at the center, and continue to support and expand, so Carol tells me, on every endeavor that she brings to their attention, through material contributions to the center, to contributions in the way of time and effort, taking people into their homes, to the church services, and all of the things that go with trying to develop a home-like and conducive community attitude and environment for the people that are resident here.
Paul Roth, WSFA TV News, Wetumpka.
And so on and so forth. I want to be able to direct my life. Let loose of the brain. You can. There's a certain amount of authority and responsibility that's given. Some people will never be able to accept or learn.
Definitely on the increase. I look for routine radiologic equipment to go to the computer mode or more to computer type equipment in the future. Remote control, the setting of techniques which is done manually now, which errors can result in repeats excess radiation to patients, to probably be controlled more by computer type equipment to reduce the exposure to the population in the future.
The purpose of the health fair is to provide services for people who can't or not able to go to a doctor, and we're doing testing out here to help them. And it is also to let the people of Montgomery know of the different organizations that we have here in Montgomery that can help them.
City life, living like a duck in a pen.
and I can't take home sweet home to me. Tennessee Hill, ain't no smoggy smoke on Rocky Top, ain't no telephone bill. Once I had a man on Rocky Top, half bear, the other half cat, wild as a weed, but sweet.
The basis is the Jordan Memo, which says deaths in future generations due to cancer and genetic effects resulting from the radon from the uranium required to fuel a single reactor for 1 year can run into the hundreds. And that's just immoral. It's too high a price to pay for electricity to cause cancer and leukemia and birth defects to future generations.
You don't think that nuclear power is safe?
It's not safe, it's not cheap, and it's not clean, and we don't need it.
This pair of Hawaiian geese has been at the Montgomery Zoo for about a month. The female is the smaller of the two and came from the St. Louis Zoo. The male was brought in from New York's Bronx Zoo, and officials say it was love at first sight. The two rarely are seen apart, and that's a good sign because the zoo's director expects the two to mate. However, they won't be old enough to produce offspring until 1981. The Hawaiian goose, or nene as it's called, is an endangered species. It is the state bird of Hawaii and has neared extinction because humans have destroyed its natural habitat. Another victim of man is the Hawaiian duck. She has been in Montgomery for a week. Federal government officials confiscated her after someone tried to move her illegally across state lines. Zoo Director Charles Cliff says illegal traffic in endangered species of birds is almost as profitable as illegal traffic in drugs. But the Hawaiian duck seems to have come through the ordeal without any emotional scars. Officials say she and the nene geese are thriving at the Montgomery Zoo. Lisa Nielsen, WSFA TV News.
Two statewide groups co-sponsored the conference, the Alabama Conservancy and Safe Energy Alliance. More than 100 persons attended the event, focusing on the unsafe, costly, and health hazards of nuclear power. University of Alabama in Birmingham physician Dr. Robert Doolittle spoke on what effects radiation has on the human body, primarily the possibility of genetic damage and/or cancer. Janine Honecker has filed a federal court suit against the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, which seeks to shut down all nuclear facilities in the United States. She told the crowd nuclear energy has never been an inexpensive form of energy. State Representative Robert McKee of Montgomery will soon introduce a bill to place a 1-year moratorium on the licensing of nuclear facilities in Alabama. According to Safe Energy Alliance spokesperson Mara Holt, the group is seeking a gradual phase-out of all existing facilities and a moratorium on any new nuclear plants. The purpose of the conference this afternoon?
Public education. We feel that the public doesn't know enough about nuclear facilities and the dangers, and that they should know so that they have the ability to make a choice in Alabama.
How would this choice come about? Would it be in a general election, or just that people should petition their legislators?
Well, right now, the only avenue is that people petition their legislators.
We need unity, we need the concerted effort of everyone. We're also concerned, for the record, about an escalating level of police brutality in this community. Concern about the excessive use of force on the part of law enforcement officers. According to the information that I've received from the local leaders, there's a growing concern about the excessive use of force on the part of law enforcement officers. We don't believe that it's necessary. There's something wrong with either the training or the conduct or both of police officers when they have to use excessive force in order to make arrests. Officers are trained to arrest people with a minimum of force, and there have been far too many instances where excessive force has been used, not only in Montgomery, but across this country. We're witnessing a resurgence of police brutality. We've been demonstrating in Hueytown outside Birmingham. We've had instances in Gadsden and in other places in Alabama and across the country where police officers are using excessive force and engaging in brutal means of effecting arrests and have even killed a number of black people.
So you're advocating that the situation either be toned down. Are you planning to meet with city officials at all?
Well, we will be discussing that with local leaders and developing a strategy, but it certainly will include meeting with city officials and demanding that police officers not use excessive force, conduct themselves professionally and with respect for all of the citizens of this community.
Got a junior development program and a junior championship program, which difference being the development will entail use of beginners, intermediates in group instruction, and the championships will be players who are already tournament type players who are working toward ranking type thing.
Okay, who is eligible to join this program?
Any child 18 to down to 7 years of age.
So depending on the experience, they will be either in the championship or the development program, right?
Right.
Okay, and when does this all start?
Okay,
and
we're gonna kick off.
who would someone contact if they would like to get involved?
Okay, June the 18th will be opening day. From now until the end, registration is open. They can contact me at O'Connor Tennis Center or Lester Brown at Lagoon Park Tennis Center. I will use my other light.
With the increased problems as far as accidents and injuries are concerned and the violation of the 55-mile-an-hour speed limit, they will be concentrating on these violations. With this concentration, Colonel Jerry Shoemaker, the Director of the Department of Public Safety, said the only person that needs to be concerned with these cars is the drunk driver, the reckless, and the speeding drivers who are violating the laws across the state of Alabama.
The capital of the Confederacy is one of Alabama's main tourist attractions, so the complex's new chief of services says he wants the area to be a showplace. Don Drablos says the finance director is interested in the upkeep of the Capitol grounds.
This summer we have a plan to where we're going to hire up to 4 horticultural students from Auburn University to come down and give us some expertise on pruning trees and pulling out shrubs and giving the Capitol a haircut.
Drablos says the small amount of money to hire the Auburn students will be made up in added tourist revenue. Lisa Nielsen, WSFA TV News.
It's over. It took approximately 5 minutes from the time the special session convened until the board members voted to ratify a resolution rehiring the maintenance workers.
All those in favor of the resolution, as the motion is made, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, so moved.
Board member John Knight had some positive comments about what had been a strike scarred with shouting matches between board members and striking employees.
I would like to especially commend the members of the Board of Commissioners for their willingness to sit down and agree to rehire those employees who have been terminated or fired. I would hope that as you return, that there will be no hostilities or ill will toward anyone, and let's get together once you return to try to make the Montgomery Housing Authority one of the best housing authorities in this country.
Today's action leaves maintenance workers in a union that's not recognized, and the Housing Authority with the new grievance procedures workers say that they wanted, and it appears that all is well. This is Norman Lumpkin, WSFA TV News reporting.
He ordered that there be no more hiring. This has had a very bad effect on the staffing in the prison system. He has turned down about $2.5 million that the legislature offered to include in the prison budget, which would have gone for more staffing. And we're just very concerned about the seemingly lack of responsibility. Also, Mr. Britton has made no effort to see how many new staff he would need and has promised to do a study by 1980. Well, that's a long time from now.
At about 6 o'clock, 3 black men robbed this grocery store on the Old Selma Road. A state trooper happened to be driving by and pursued the robbers. Another trooper, Captain J.W. Franklin, explained what happened.
They went out the Mitchell Young Road till they reached this road here, which is the Old Well Road. They turned left on it. He pursued them all the way down here. And when they got here, as you can see at the intersection, they made a right turn and lost it.
After their car overturned, the men got out and ran into nearby woods. Police surrounded the area and brought out bloodhounds to try and track the men down. Police righted the getaway car and collected the stolen money. The store owner estimated the cash at $175. Police also found a rifle in the car, but not the handgun and can of mace used during the robbery. Lisa Nielsen, WSFA TV News reporting.
7 o'clock at the Exxon company had a little oil field over on Bisos Fires to come put it out. He was in Saudi Arabia, couldn't come, so out of the pool hall and the one out of the grocery store, and they go behind it.
Senator Scott the law of 1979, which we give our blessings to you and wish you the best for the future.
Well, you know, this is a tremendous program. This is my second year to do this, and I consented to come back because I was so impressed when I was here in 1977. What this does for the youth of this community and in the area of motivation, had the junior high youngsters here tonight, and it's a tremendous program because it not only uplifts athletic endeavor, but it takes into consideration all of those qualities that are important in human life.
Let's talk about sports for a second. You've got Alabama on the schedule this year.
Yes.
I know you probably thought a lot about that.
Well, not too much right now, but I'll be thinking about it before the summer's over. We play them their second ball game and our third ball game in Birmingham, and we're looking forward to it.
How could you contrast your coaching style with that of Bear Bryant, or have you thought about that before?
Well, the big contrast is that he's won a heck of a lot more football games than I have. He's a tremendous coach, and, you know, I've never had the pleasure to work under him or with him, and I don't know all of his style, but I know that he's a man that the players love and coaches respect, and they do a great job in recruiting and winning.
And from there, you know, so many. You know, the toughest thing for any young guy coming in is
knowing when to shoot and when to pass. You know, like when you first come into the league, you really don't understand what they're trying to do. You know, you get a book that says the plays, but you don't know what each individual does well or what is his weakness. So you really have to feel yourself around. And I think once you learn how to, you know, when to shoot and when to pass, you know, it makes the game a lot easier for you.
About the 82-game schedule, you know, in college you play twice a week. You can get up for every game. Do you ever have to coast in the NBA?
Well, the Atlanta Hawks don't, because, you know, Coach Brown, he demands that, you know, you give 100%. And, you know, we're playing 10 guys, so if you're not giving that 100% that he think you should be, somebody will get you. So when you go out on the floor, you know you must give it your all so you can get your time. And for you to be successful in this league, you must get time. And, you know, I'm looking for a lot of time. You know, I love playing, and I figure when I'm out there, I'm going to contribute something. And, you know, it's just a great feeling.
What about QB Brown's style? Does his style ever bother you, the yelling at the players and the storming up and down the sidelines?
Well, no, not really, because I think, you know, I've surpassed that stage. You know, at first, my rookie year, it bothered me. But then I began to understand what he was trying to get across. So it made me accept his yelling a lot easier, you know. I took in the things that was beneficial to me as a player and that was going to help the team. But other than that, you know, the rest of it just went through, you know. I really didn't absorb it, you know. So I can handle it pretty well now, so there's no problem.